Your body speaks every day through stress, emotions, and even chronic symptoms that are often misunderstood as only physical. I'm Julie Drake, the Mind Body Detective, and this podcast is about tuning into those clues and finding innovative ways to resolve what's really under the surface. I want to dive deep into my own labels that I received in my 20s. Lupus, IBS, early onset arthritis. Those are the things that my doctor said, or various healthcare providers said was happening in my body. So that's what I want to talk to you about today. There was a time when those words, lupus, IBS, early onset arthritis, sounded more like a death sentence. I was in my 20s. It just felt heavy, like something that I would have to live with forever. Quietly saying, this is your life forevermore. Have you been there? Have you ever felt like that label defined your future? It was kind of scary. It made me want to be smaller. I withdrew. I didn't understand what was going on. All I had known was the medical world. I didn't know anything else. I just knew what people were saying. I knew how I felt. And then things changed. Because here's what I know. The labels made sense at the moment because they kind of matched what I was feeling. But what I know now is that they didn't tell the whole story. In my 20s, I had these diagnoses. I felt inflamed. I had digestive issues. In my 30s, playing with my toddler on the floor, I had a moment where I couldn't get up. So that's when I went to the doctor, imaging, test results, early onset arthritis. And okay, I did what any 20-year-old would do. I ignored everything. Type A, I had goals. It's like, I don't have time for this. Even though on the inside, I was wondering, was my body failing me? Is this how my life is going to be? But as I look back, I started down this journey as I thought about what to talk to you about. And I realized that I hadn't even thought about those labels in a very long time. I had almost forgotten about them. That's how far removed I am from that time. You don't know this about me yet, but I'm kind of a rebel at heart. And that's kind of why I ignored it. I kind of felt, okay, I'll push through it. I'll get beyond it. Okay, it's there, but I don't have time for that. And it kind of served me. um, but what I also learned about myself at that time is that I was very medically resistant in terms that antibiotics, the ones that they prescribed for me, didn't land in my body. Even in my teens, as I think back, I had very harsh reactions to certain medications. And I now see this as a gift because if they had worked, would I have gone searching for other answers? I don't know if I would have. I might have just stayed content in that world and I wouldn't have learned the breadth of knowledge, the way that I help myself, my family, how I look at the body, how I look at the experience differently. It's not that I don't use the medical community because I 100% do. A label doesn't always mean what they say it has to mean. If you are feeling deep down that something isn't right, there's a connection missing between what they're saying, what you're feeling, and what you know deep down in your heart, go with your gut. Always go with your gut and look for another way. Look for another answer because if you continue to feel like that, there's a reason. Just like there was a reason for me to go exploring other solutions outside of the medical box that I had been exposed to my whole life. So stay hopeful, educate yourself, look to things like this podcast, other things that you can use a different approach that's going to work for you. But I also want you to know something, that sometimes the biggest shifts don't come from doing another protocol. They don't come from doing another set of supplements. Sometimes you have to look at your problem completely different from the inside out. Even before my symptoms started and my labels started piling up, There were clues I didn't really know how to connect at the time. I was born with my intestines twisted. I think I'm saying this right. I was only, 1 week old. But long story short, I couldn't retain the nutrients that I was given. So I would cry a lot. I was miserable. And then at 9 months old, they found out that something was happening that caused me not to integrate the nutrients I was given. I had a surgery, and magically, I started gaining weight as an infant. So if you look at that layer, and you look at what came after that, my body held all of those mini traumas. I mean, imagine being born, your mom feeding you, but your body is not assimilating, is not taking in those nutrients. What did that little body go through? You don't consciously know that, but that's building a foundation upon which everything else is laid in the body. And those are times when, if you've ever heard the saying, the body keeps the score, and there's a great book about it, those are things that were happening in my life. That was on my foundation. I just knew how I felt in my 20s, in my 30s. It wasn't until later in my 40s when I started integrating this work, this knowledge that I've learned, to look deeper, to find those connections, to find those emotional cracked foundations. That little bitty body had stored a lot of emotion. It was crying out, but nobody understood what I was saying. I didn't even know. I was a baby. But here's what happens. When I was looking for symptom relief, I tried various protocols. I did. I found supplements that worked for me. And the funny thing is, I remember arguing with my nutritionist because I was 100% sure when I hired him that I was lactose intolerant. That is why my digestive system was all messed up. So we had this bet, and he said, okay, go off dairy, go off gluten for 2 weeks, and then we're going to add in one each day. So I was so excited to prove him wrong that on my lactose day, I had it all lined out. I knew exactly what I was going to eat, and I was sure that by noon, my stomach would just be screaming at me. So I did. I started out drinking milk in the morning with breakfast. Now remember, I couldn't have gluten at the time. So I had milk. I had a little bit of ice cream for lunch. I can't remember all I ate that day, but I do absolutely remember I felt fine. And so he said, Julie, it's a gluten issue. And I knew it wasn't a gluten issue, mostly because I loved bread and I didn't want it to be a gluten issue. But here's what I know. 3 days later, when I had my gluten day, I was so excited. I knew exactly what I was going to eat all throughout the day, and it was going to end with my favorite pizza for dinner. So I had a breakfast sandwich from a local bakery that I was just craving by that point. And then by noon, I had half a sandwich because it was already starting those familiar symptoms, those familiar feelings. And I thought, oh crap, this guy, he's right and I'm wrong. And then also looking at how I moved my body. I love step aerobics. I love body pump. I loved all those go get 'em type things. It made me feel like I was doing something. And my body was not resonating with that. I needed to take a slower roll, walk more, yoga. That's the first time I was introduced to yoga. And I'm like, what is this? I don't like this. It's boring. Nah. But it was really what my body needed at that time because it was already so jacked up from everything else that was going on with it. It didn't need one more high level thing. Looking back, I wanted to share what the real progression was for me. I started out trying to manage my symptoms. Then I went deeper into food, elimination diets, that type of thing. But as you see, the biggest shifts didn't happen until I started supporting my body differently, actually learning to listen to it. And that's the part most people never get to. That's how I work now. It's how I work with my clients. It's even how I work with myself. If something comes up, I stop and I ask, okay, this is what I'm seeing on the surface, but what is going on down deep? I slow down. I take in information. Where am I feeling that in the body? When is the first time I remember having a reaction to this food? Do I even know? Is this even mine? And here's the other thing to know is that sometimes feeling nothing is the biggest clue of all. And when I say that, there are times when I'll ask my clients, hey, let's tap into this. You feel this pain, you feel whatever, you can't eat this food. When you think about that food or when you think about that pain, think back on the time that you first felt that, or where is that really living in the body? And we'll do a body scan, feeling into the body. Where do you feel heavy? Where do you feel light? Where does it feel super dark or cold in the body? And sometimes people feel nothing and they can't even identify inside where they feel cold, where they feel warm, where they feel stuck. And it doesn't mean that it's not there. It means that's a super big clue that the body does not feel safe. Something in the body is holding on so tight, it's locked in some type of protective mode. The nervous system does not feel like it can let its guard down. It's either stuck in fight, flight, or freeze. And that is also information. And it's not something to get super upset about. It's just you're not ready yet. If you have found value in this, be sure to subscribe, share it with your friends, and tune in next time when we go deeper into food sensitivities and what might be causing yours. Until next time, you got this.